What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, and this is part 6. Unfortunately, the last part of my ranking and reviewing Mo, the Jam Band, their Warts and All series. Unfortunately, there were only 6 releases. This one came out in 2008, so they haven't, I guess, probably not going to do it anymore. Volume 6 looks like that. It's a Kansas show from January 28th, 2007. And if Kansas is the band's their greatest hits, this is a direct rip off of that. That's what the Kansas album looks like right there. So yeah, replace the Winnebago, or not the Winnebago. Is that a Winnebago? I don't know what that is. Replacing whatever the boat with whatever that thing is. But yeah, so it's a complete live show on 3 discs. Solid show. We got a first set, which kind of warms up. You get a number of sort of self-contained songs that don't really have, they have solos in them, but they don't really have any epic jams, or they don't really deviate too much from like the studio versions of the songs. I think, well, no, one of them doesn't have a studio version. And then set 2 and the end of set 1 are just jams with some really sweet segues. The sort of middle part between songs, is where Mo really shines. They go to some pretty interesting places as they get from one song to the other. The transitions are not abrupt; they're very Escher-esque, in which we start with this song and then we just kind of slowly tweak our way around until we finally end up in this other song. It's beautiful the way they do that. And there's a number of really good examples of them doing that here. Also, this one has some really good percussion on this. This is in an era when they had a drummer, and then their former drummer came back as a percussionist and was mostly on percussion. And so this is one of those, I guess everything after 99 has him on percussion. But the percussion is very prominent, has some very Zappa-esque moments, a lot of marimbas, I'm assuming is what it is, marimba work. But anyways, what you get on this, the first set has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 songs. It opens up with 3, so 4 kind of warm-up songs, like self-contained little numbers. Captain America, which in the previous one has a really nice ending solo. This one just has kind of a short middle solo in there. It, absolutely awesome, just really nice slide work on it. Really good version of it. This is the first release in the series of a non-studio song called Bring It Back Home, which is a very dun, 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 bring it back home, kind of just like loose, kind of dancing. Rusted Root vibe for anybody who remembers Rusted Root. It's got that sort of energy. And that goes into Lost along the way, an absolutely fantastic ballady number that has a little bit of a Eric Clapton Let It Grow vibe to it. Fantastic song. I'm not stretched out. This is one that I would really like to see stretched out. Has like a Crazy Fingers Amorphous type vibe that if it's in like a, in the middle of other songs. But this comes out of Bring It Back Home, sort of. And yeah, really awesome song. Really great version of this. And then disc 1 closes off with also a first-time release song called Jazzwank, which is this instrumental number. Starts off really, takes its time developing. Starts off with some very just like some like cymbal work, and they ride that, and it's got these really almost like very amorphous, slowly building vibe. And then it goes into a couple like dun, 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 really short little dramatic parts before then we go off again on this very jazz flavored, jammy, loose, not too intense, kind of Sunday afternoon type vibe. But this Jazzwank eventually, it jams its way into Rebubula. So once you realize, or once the band is like, okay, we're done with Jazzwank, we're going to Rebubula, you get the percussion starts coming in, and we get a little more of that Rebubula vibe. And then Rebubula is on disc 2. Nowhere near as intense as one from earlier in the series. There was one earlier, I think, might have been on volume 4, that has a really long, healthy middle section where things kind of go way out there. This one's a little more reined in, a little bit tighter, but it's still a good, solid Rebubula. Not the best Rebubula of the series, but a really solid one. And being paired with Jazzwank is absolutely fantastic. So the first set's a pretty strong first set. 4 shorter self-contained songs, and then a nice sort of jammy ending. And then the second set is just fantastic. So after Rebubula on disc 2, you get the first 2 songs of the second set, which takes a good long while to go through. You get a Spine of a Dog, has a typical Spine of the Dog ending with that awesome sort of guitar motif that Chuck plays, sort of kind of a proggy build up. Plays those lines, then we kind of, we're done with Spine of a Dog, and we go to this amorphous thing where we're kind of between songs that kind of flirt around with there. Not too long, doesn't get too evil. There's an earlier Spine of a Dog in the series, which gets a lot darker and a lot more intense. This one doesn't get quite that dark. And then it goes into a really awesome Dr. Grafenberg. Really enjoy this Dr. Grafenberg. The energy is good. The first part of the middle solo is kind of weird and fragmented and kind of like not as in the pocket, but almost fighting against it. Really neat. But then after I think it's Al that's doing the solo there, after Al kind of messes around for a while and creates this sort of this dissonant type vibe, then we get like a standard Dr. Grafenberg solo. And then that solo, and then after the song finishes, and the solo in the middle is long. We're talking, it's close, I think, to like 10 minutes long. They finish up the song. Then we get a really nice sort of between song jammy period before that fades out at the end of disc 2. And then the song it goes into on disc 3 is 4. There's an Inca Rhodes quote in this one also. In the previous Inca Rhodes quote that we got, which I think was volume 2, that's kind of the end of the song, and Chuck plays a little more of the Inca Rhodes. It's that the part that comes at the end of the solo before they go into the second half of the song. He only really plays, I think, like the first 2 lines of that. Then he goes off on the solo. It's like an island in the middle of the solo. It doesn't conclude the solo like the previous one. Not as epic, but still a nice little Zappa tease right there. Nice little Zappa quote. And then what I think is probably the highlight of the entire disc, we get a really nice long head. And the middle part of head kind of reminds me of something like the way Fish would do like a theme from the bottom, or Free in a certain era of Free, where it just becomes this like, nobody's really soloing. The rhythm section, the drummer and the bass are keeping things nice and like buoyant and like keeping things like moving forward, but neither Chuck or Al are really dropping solos. They're just kind of providing atmosphere. I think there's some pretty good keyboards in this. I want to say at the end of Dr. Grafenberg, Al is doing some pretty cool stuff on the keyboards before we slide into 4. There's some pretty good keyboard stuff going on in the middle of the head. And the keyboard stuff, whenever Al steps behind the keyboard, he's not soloing. He's just providing like the perfect sort of atmospheric notes, or like we'll play like a little motif that he'll repeat. Just best synth sounds that he chooses. Just really well selected stuff. But the head in this is really nice and stretched out, kind of like a China Cat Sunflower jam, where you're moving forward in this direction, but things are really kind of all over the place and really psyche and spacey, and you don't really have like a soloing vehicle to hold on to, because everybody's doing a little bit of something that's interesting. Absolutely fantastic head. And then that goes into Brent Black, really good Brent Black. My only complaint with Brent Black's is it's usually a drum solo into a drum solo Rob jam, which the Rob jams are always good. He's the bass player. So you get that, but it's a good Brent Black. The energy is good. It's a great song. And that is the end of the main second set. And then for the encore, you get Gone, a fantastic song, short little song, great lyrics, Al song, and then The Ghost of Ralph's Mom, which is a song, I think they played that for somebody who requested it or something. That's a weird little song, weird little encore number 2. But yeah, so that's the show. And really, it's that disc 2 with the Rebubula, Spine of a Dog, Dr. Grafenberg. There's a lot of good jamming, some great guitar solos. And then disc 3, that head, especially the head, is really, really good. But yeah, fantastic release. Another really good release. If I had to rank it, and I don't, but I'm going to, I have this as the second best one. Both those 2007 shows being the top 2 releases, I think, from this. The other stuff coming from earlier and the end of the previous millennium and the beginning of this millennium. Those are back there. I think they're all pretty good releases. They all have pretty fantastic moments. But Volume 5, I think, is clearly the best. Volume 5 is just like an almost perfect jam band album, if not a perfect jam band album. And 6, I think the song selections, the solos, that Lost Along the Way on the first disc is such a great song. But yeah, I would rank this one at number 2. But all right, I'm done with Mo, or at least done with this series. They do have another live series that they did a couple releases on. I might drop on a Sunday one day. I've been enjoying revisiting these and experiencing them. So I highly recommend Mo if you haven't checked them out. They're just really good, straightforward guitar-based jam band. You know, they don't get too crazy, but there's some really good musicians, some really good songs, some like Zappa prog energy in some of their writing. Yeah, good stuff. All right, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. I highly recommend you check out Mo if you haven't. It's a great band. And if you already have this and have checked it out and have thoughts to share, share them. I appreciate it. All right. Subscribe, like, share, comment, do all those things, and go listen to Mo. Peace. Talk to you later.